Okay, so let's get started. Welcome to today's webinar that is on the topic of how to make your invoice process a bit easier with the help of AI. And not just that we are going to look at apps, because I know that there are a lot of invoicing apps. We're going to look at those, and then we're going to look a little bit at how to enhance further and see what the apps can't do, but that you can achieve with the help of make.com. And additionally, we're going to add a layer of very trendy AI on top of that. So it will be a little bit of integration with ChatGPT that I'm sure that many are familiar with. Maybe some have not used it in the API yet, which is fine. You're going to learn that today. But I think that everyone at least has maybe went to ChatGPT website and tried out the chatbot there. And of course, that's open up a lot of possibilities when it comes to drafting stuff for a human to just review and then click OK, more or less. All right, so we will start with actually having a look inside of Monday. So in front of us here, we have the Monday app marketplace where I've just searched for invoice, because we can see that there are quite a lot of apps out there that helps out with invoice automation. Many of them are connected to quite popular bookkeeping and invoice systems, such as QuickBooks and Xero. I'm not sure how popular Paysaro is, but it seems to be actually downloaded more often than both Xero and QuickBooks, which surprises me. But it could be that these two apps are newer as well. This one even says new in the tag. You also have another QuickBooks app here that is actually editor choice, so that might be even better if you're looking at integrating with QuickBooks. On top of that, we have one of my favorite apps here, Docugen, that creates PDF. And of course, it is possible to create a PDF and send it out as an invoice, but that will not help you with the bookkeeping part of it, which I think that both Xero and QuickBooks do in a whole other manner, because they are integrated systems where if you send an invoice, that's actually being accounted for as well in your books in a manner according to your local laws and regulations. And I can see that also that Ilero is here, that I have tested out as well. It's a quite nice platform. So Docugen is quite easy to use, but Ilero opens up for even more use cases generally, if you want to tailor the PDF that you get out even more than Docugen permits. So it could be an option as well. Except for that, we're gonna use Make today anyway, which you can see here. I have my Make scenario here in front of us. And the good thing with Make is that Make also connects to quite a lot of other services as well. So actually, if we just open a new tab here, go to make.com, then we can quite easily have a look in the apps and services section. And if we search for invoice here, you can find quite a lot of invoices, such as Soho invoice. I know that many use the Soho package. I haven't reviewed the rest of these, to be honest. But I know also that there is some category here where one of them should be about finance, right? Okay, maybe not. Anyway, I know that for my Swedish audience, we have the quite popular Fortnox, system integrated with Make, and it works really well. And in this one, we can, of course, also create invoices. So let's see. We have retrieve an invoice. We have update an invoice. I know that we have create invoice as well somewhere. Yeah, just can't find it now at the moment. Apart from that, additionally for the Swedish market, we have Visma e-accounting. And if you are lacking your service of choice, then just have a search in Make. And if you're quite advanced Make user, you can even create your own connections, which we have done at Omnitas before, for example, with e-Economic in Denmark, a Danish service, and others as well. So have a look if you're unsure. So let's go back to the webinar page. So after you install an app, probably what you're gonna notice, so we search for invoice here again. I was not in the app marketplace, here we go. So we search for invoice. And what you notice is that many of these, they require you to have a board. So if you click on how to use for any of these, okay, this one did not seem to work. Okay, they didn't allow to have their help page embedded. This one did not have a help page at all. Yeah, that's some homework for the app developers there to fix their help pages, actually. But I know that usually how it works is that you have, that you can create invoices, and you can connect to Xero billing here, for example, and Xero invoicing. Yeah, that's the one that I was thinking about. So check it out and try it yourself, because if I'm gonna use it now, then I will need to install a bunch of stuff that I didn't intend for this webinar anyway. But in the end, since I have a client who uses the Xero app from Luxitech, then I know that they have a recipe for example, where the main item is an invoice, and then the sub items are basically your invoice lines, right? So what we see in front of us here is one of those very basic boards. And typically, if you just have that app installed, and then maybe it will look something like this, and then you create a new invoice, you add an item, you add a price, you add a description, you add a quantity, unit, maybe a discount if you want to. And then you get the total, so you can display the total in a regular way as you do in any Monday board. Then you can usually just click on send to whatever service, and then inside that service there could be automations to send it to the client, and you will get back a PDF. So basically that's how those apps usually work. And then of course you can also connect it to any clients as well. But the thing is that that's quite tedious, at least if you're working with invoicing customers. Then you have to, manually look at, okay, what have we done for this client in my production space here? Okay, so we did for Greenstream, we did this project where we have not started yet, except that I know that these are done, for example. But we have these left, so I know that I can invoice roughly a third of the project if all of these are equal in dollar amount, or pound, whatever you prefer. But right now I have a dollar sign in front of all my numbers here that indicates that it's about money, right? And then you go back to the invoice board, And maybe you say, okay, this invoice 1 is for the project. Oh, what was it called again? I forgot what this was. And then you go back to the portfolio system again. Okay, of course you will have this open in 2 different tabs, probably. But still, this is how your eyes work, right? You fetch information from one of the tabs, and then you bring it over to the other one. So basically manually moving information from one board to another, step by step. And also maybe you want to check in the accounts here to see, okay, who should I send it to even? I should send it to David Johnson. And maybe I also want to check, okay, maybe we have another deal upcoming here. Then I have to maybe take that into account and not. So I mark the invoice to say, okay, this is about the project that we already have. This is not an accidental invoice that we send ahead when we haven't signed the deal for the next project yet. So then you can have a look here at the opportunities as well. But basically what you're doing is that you're flipping between a lot of boards, and maybe not ideal. So that's basically your situation, right? That you're basically working manually with doing all that. What we're gonna do today is that instead of doing it manually, we're gonna just fetch the data from the project system. In this case, the portfolio management board, which is built as one project is one row. I know that in some PMO systems, you have external boards where all the tasks are. But in this quite simplified example, I have just put all the tasks as sub-items instead on the project row itself. So you still get kind of this high-level overview where you can see which are done and not started. You can see which time span, how much expenses so far, and so on. This project board is also connected to an opportunity, quite always connected to an opportunity, because in this example of how a company could look like, and this of course could be quite vary a lot between each company, but usually what you have is 2 parts. You have a sales part where you sell things to people, and then you have a production part where you actually start doing stuff that you have signed a deal for. And this is the doing stuff part. For the CRM, we have a connection to the opportunity that sold the project, and in this one, just we have a project brief that carries over, as we could see with the mirror column earlier, that carries over to the other board, since it's quite relevant for whoever is going to lead the project to know the brief of what they're going to do. And the opportunity in turn is connected to a account, which is in a third board. So basically we have a 3-part chain there. So we have project that is connected to an opportunity that is connected to an account. So I made it a little bit more complicated, but this is actually how many systems are built up. So it's not unique, but I made it a little bit more complicated because many have these kind of complicated relationship between the production and the CRM space. So that way I can show you a little bit on how to fetch data from several levels away, which is something that even experienced developers have sometimes a difficulty to grasp fully, because the connect column is not easy to work with unless you have a little bit of Monday experience. Okay, so no direct connection to the client. Instead, there is a connection to the opportunity, which is connected to the client. Very important to remember. All right. So we, at least I, for this case, I want to be situated here in the account section, and I want to say create an invoice for this date and fetch whatever information that we fetch all the information for what we've done from the portfolio management system. And what we can see here is that we could have 2 or even more projects per client running at the same time that need to be invoiced. And we don't want to send 1 invoice per project so that the client gets 2 invoices. We want to merge them together into 1 invoice, which is why this is actually, the draft is actually created from the account space. So all you do in the draft is say that, okay, I want a draft invoice for the last of January, and I want it for that client, HSBF. And of course, that requires a little bit of information to be populated in the account section, but I assume now that you have a good enough CRM. If you don't, then look at one of our other webinars where you can build a CRM to actually have this quite populated as I have here. I even have a special column saying, okay, where should I send the invoice to? Which person should I send it to? Because as you can see, there could be several contacts for one account, and then it could be good to have a different column to show, okay, of these people, who should I send it to? Or should I send it to a third party even? Who should I send it from? So it will fetch my name from here. Not the picture, fortunately. We don't need that to be sent over. We also get actually the invoices that are currently on that client. We can see them in here. So we can see the total that has been invoiced, total that has been paid, and total that's been overdue. And that is due to when we create a draft, it automatically connects directly from the account to the draft invoice. So if I want to see here, Vet Labs, for example, so they had they have a item card with general company information, some connections to contacts and so on. But I want to see, when it comes to invoicing, what's happening with the money that we're supposed to get for this. And we can see that, actually there was an invoice sent from my colleague Julia here, and it's overdue. And we can see that the amount overdue is 580,000 and so on. So we can see a list of invoices actually in this view, as well as create a new invoice if we want to from this view as well, which is quite nifty. Unless we want to batch create, then you of course select a lot, and then you select create after selecting a date, and then you select the create, which could also be a good idea, but then you have to leave the item card view, which is good for looking at one single company at a time. All right. So when I click create here, what I want to see is that there is a webhook. There we go. When creator of the invoice changes to create, send a webhook that's being sent to my make scenario. So typically a make scenario will look like this. And I think that most people know that who is on this call. And we can see that there's a queue because I have not put the scenario on. But if I just activate it for a second and process the old data that I have sent over, then we can actually see that it fetches. Now I got an error. I was supposed to get an error later to show you how to solve it, but okay. But then it would create a invoice over here and populate that with what we were looking at. So let's dive into that bit directly now. Okay, now we have create. So what happened now was that the I had accidentally selected a very old ChatGPT engine. So let's directly change that to, okay, so that was the only one that I could choose, which is quite odd. Anyway, that is quite recent that I have depreciated it. But ChatGPT still has quite a lot of other models that currently are not showing in Make, it seems. But for example, they have the ChatGPT 4. But it could also be by a different connection. Let me try this one. Okay. There's not much to do about that. But we can see that the webbook, it arrived here from Monday, as we expected. HSBF, which is the one that I triggered from Monday. We can see that because it's staying on create instead of having automations to switch for demonstration purposes here. Then what happens is that we actually get the whole row of that client in order to find out what opportunities are connected to it. In this case, we can see that there is one opportunity connected, which is we can only see, which is we can see in Monday instead of from there. But let me have a look. There we go. HSBF deal it's called this time. And so then we have moved one layer in the chain from account back to opportunity. And then we're going to go to project later. But first, on the opportunity, we want to fetch the project scope document. Because as you might remember, there was a project scope Monday doc in here that also contains a little bit of text, and I just put the shortest possible summary, one sentence, but this is ideally fleshed out a bit more to give a bit of context to ChatGPT, since a good prompt should have the context, what kind of information it's receiving, what kind of output that we want, and so on. So the context comes from the project brief summary. So what we do in the make scenario is that after we fetch the opportunity or the opportunities, then we get the document itself with a specialized GraphQL, and this is quite nice as well. So this is based on Monday's new API version, the 2023-10. Even though I didn't select it, it is based on that. And you could do it also actually in some of the old versions, that you could get a document and then see each of these blocks in a document, and a block or object. But an object or a block, that would be, for example, here is one block or object that you can move around like that. So quite often it is a my cursor got stuck there. Okay, so quite often it is a paragraph, and you can even do some quite cool regex here for a standardized document like this, that you between each block, between the block's summary and specifications, you should fetch everything, all the paragraphs. And then you can fetch all of them as summaries, which would make sense in this case. But for this webinar, I have made it more simplified. So we iterate on all the blocks, and we filter out the block. In this case, it's only one block, one paragraph. But as I said, with advanced regex, we can get more that we're interested in. Then we parse out, because the block, it will give us, the alignment of the text. It will give us the delta format, whatever that is. But what we are actually interested in is the text itself, which is inside the insert, which is part of the delta format. Okay, So we need to parse that out of the JSON and then put it into a variable. So this variable will, which we call summary, will just have the development, blah, blah, blah. And then we fetch it directly to have it with us, right? Now when we click create invoices. Okay. After that, it checks that the opportunity actually have a project connected to it. Because if we haven't started any work, then it would make sense to create an invoice anyway. So if we don't, if it doesn't have any projects connected, then it will actually give a error message to Monday. So it will show up when we are in the accounts page. This will just take a second, and it will show up in our update section as a user feedback, as an error message in here. And that is one way of sending error messages back to Monday. Typically, it's also combined with you changing the status to error, just to make it super clear for the user. Or you can send it up here, because the GraphQL it permits also a notification. So you can get a notification with the error message, but that's a lot shorter, the text that it allows, and most people actually miss on the notifications if they are not using Monday a lot. So it could be safer to just have it here. It depends on your workflow and what people are used to in your system. When we check that, okay, this actually has a connected project, then we get all the projects. In this case, we have one called Project Papa. And then on that project, we start iterating on the sub-items. And remember that the sub-items on the project are the tasks. So they are basically all the things that we want to do on a project. In this case, we have the same for all of them. They are quite general. Some kind of construction company that investigates the site and contacts some stakeholders. We have some development happening in 6 stages and so on. But it could be anything that you could possibly imagine. And for Project Romeo, for example, we have actually progressed a bit on a project. So we're in the execution phase with site development. So we have left the planning phase that was previous. We have a budget of 380,000. We have spent 2,980. We have come a little bit. We have a lot of days left, but we have progressed a bit on the timeline, right, when it comes to actual days. And so we want to invoice this project as far as we for all the done tasks. And we don't want to invoice those that have already been invoiced. So we have that tag that switches automatically with the help of make. So next, when we have found a task that actually we want to put in the invoice that is not invoiced, and actually I'm gonna put an ad in there that its status should also be done. So I'm gonna copy that text and status. There we go. Status text equal to done. Then we're gonna ask ChatGPT on elaborate on the task name in a descriptive way. The whole reason for that is that, okay, we might have the task investigate site, but nobody, of course, some stakeholder that is supposed to be kept informed, but doesn't have all the doesn't need to be involved all the time in a project. They could just have a look at the invoice. Okay, what have we actually paid for here? And in this case, it's investigate site. Investigate site for what? I mean, if we have 3 projects going on and they get invoiced together, and we want each row here to be one task, for example, or one part of the project, then maybe we want a longer description. And that's where ChatGPT comes in. It can elaborate a bit on the task. And we are lucky because the other day when this actually worked, then I managed to create an item or two. So let's bring one of them back that actually had this kind of description on them. So, okay. Let's see if we can refresh this page. Great. So this is a draft that was created by the scenario the other day. So when we have the investigate site, for the very short description, as I said earlier, we had in Aachen, Netherlands, we had a sidewalk or something that needed to be fixed. Even shorter. The development and refurbishment of the sidewalks in Aachen, Netherlands. Okay, perfect. Quite general, probably going to be a longer text, but it's enough just to demonstrate this point, which is that it will elaborate automatically with that and investigate side that it will say refurbish sidewalks, facilities, and a public square. Okay, it started hallucinating quite directly, so you have to see these as drafts, as I said, and investigate the site, including determining what parts need repairing and how, which it makes sense. And then maybe when you read that, you feel like, okay, actually, when we investigate, we also took some basic measurements of traffic level on the sidewalk. And maybe we just removed a bit of where ChatGPT started hallucinating, so we don't have that. And then that's enough. So we had a draft, and we just put a little bit extra on there, a quick review, but we avoided writer's block by having a suggestion from ChatGPT. Quite nice. I do that a lot with ChatGPT. I mean, it helps so much to not start and stare at a blank page, right? And the same goes here. So that happens for every line. And then we also fetch the ID of the invoice itself that we have created over in Discord in order to create the sub-item somewhere, because the actual invoice line gets created. Let's see now. There we go. It gets created up here. So the actual invoice line with the main item in Monday, this one, it gets created with with some information, such as the date that we fetch directly from the account line. We get also create a connection here automatically with the ID to the account because we fetched that earlier. And we get the sent from, and we automatically select that as me. There we go. And actually, we could have had a text value saying send to, and so on. That depends a lot on the system that you're using, how your setup is in your bookkeeping and invoicing system, because some people, they have the bookkeeping and invoicing system as the master and then have Monday as the slave. So basically, the invoicing system, let's say QuickBooks, say that we have these clients, this is the client information, this is all Monday needs to know, and shovel that over to Monday. Or you could have a setup where you actually create the client registry from Monday. So in Monday, the salesperson enters all the information, and then when the sale is done, that it automatically creates a new client over in QuickBooks. You see the difference there? So it depends on your approach, whether it's the economy department who creates the client info, or if it's the salesperson who is working in Monday. I have worked with both types of clients, and they both have their up and down sides, so that's quite unique for each company. You have to remember that. When the overall main item has been created, then we immediately set that variable invoice ID that we fetch over here, and then we also create the first sub item. I did it quite lazily this way, yes, I know. But what is important to know here is that we also create the text that we get from the answer of ChatGPT. We get that quite easily. You can see refurbished sidewalks, facilities, blah, blah, blah. You get that as a value to put inside Monday, just like this. And when you create this, you can also, of course, if you have a price list, you can connect that earlier in the scenario and automatically get the price. In this case, I set the price manually, so maybe it's 200. Maybe you have set the price on the project, then of course it would make sense to actually take maybe a portion of this price based on a set of rules here. It could also be that you're selling number of hours and then you have an hourly rate. Then you could have an hourly rate maybe on the account or on the deal. So the possibilities are quite endless on that, on how you get price in there. But in this case, I left it manually because anyway, you could batch select or you could, when it comes to construction, I have a hunch that maybe you want to set the price a bit customized for each row actually. So that's why I left it there. But from other use cases, then it makes sense to just fetch the price from the entity that makes sense. I even seen some clients that have advanced setups where they have a deals board, where they have sold a deal to a person, and where there are different prices depending on the role. And then they fetch the time reported from somewhere else, and they attach depending on the reported time, what role that was on, then they fetch the role price for that particular deal, and then they combine those two to create invoice lines. So that is, of course, maybe the most advanced example I've seen, but yes, it is. There are a lot of opportunities that way. Okay, I'm just gonna take a quick break here to see if anyone have any questions. Not at the moment, it seems. Okay, good. That must mean that I'm quite clear at explaining, and I take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. Anyway, let's get going. Next, after the main item and the sub items have been created here in Monday, then we also aggregate all the descriptions into one text. That's what we're doing here. So we have, for this project, here are the description of the tasks. And then you also get the summary and the invoice ID because we specified those as variables earlier in the scenario. And then you ask ChatGPT again. In the context of this project summary, then you have the summary, write a short description of 2,000 letters of what has been completed in each project of the input in a professional tone. Yeah, okay, in the prompt, the tone is actually quite an important bit as well, no matter what part of ChatGPT you use. Usually I use ChatGPT 4, which is fantastic at picking up tone. So if you say professional tone, then it does quite a really good job. Then I give it the input, and I also put the temperature. So the temperature is quite interesting. If you put it high, for example, 1, which is the default you make, which is crazy, then it will almost like it will almost for sure start hallucinating or making up stuff. If you put it on 2, then it 0, then it will basically have no wiggle room to interpret anything. So you will get quite a robotic answer. And what we can see that make recommends if in at least in another module, then it's 0.2. And the same goes for the other variables. I'm not going to get into that now, but I really recommend you to look at the top P and the N variable as well. They are very interesting, and and most of all, you should try it out. You should tweak these variables a little bit each time that you test your scenario to see where do I hit the sweet spot. Okay, now it sounds like I want to. Or if maybe you want to change professional tone to playful tone because you're selling toys or whatever. Whatever fits your brand, right? So that was most important. Of course, prompting is a whole science in itself. But the whole purpose of doing that, to collect all the information, all the text information we have, and give us a 2,000 letter summary, is to get 2,000 letter summary, is to get this free text for the invoice. Now, this is maybe a bit long, actually, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not super happy with this outcome. And for this webinar, I was hoping also to generate another outcome together with you guys and not look at this old example. But yes, the project description is, first of all, a bit stiff. It's also hallucinating. It's a bit, I want to say it, write this to me in a fluent text or something. So there definitely some tweaking that needs to be done in the instruction here or in the prompt, to be honest with you. But that is also quite easy to change. But anyway, so the whole idea is that in the account section, you either select your customer that you want to invoice this particular moment, you select a date, you select create, or you select a bunch of customers and then click create. Whatever way you prefer. The scenario goes to the opportunity section and fetch the project summary from a Monday doc, which in itself is could be quite tricky with GraphQL because it's something that many are not very used to when it comes to Monday API. Then it also fetch the task information, such as what has been invoiced before and not, what has been completed and not, and so on. And since we have such nice permissions in Monday, we can even lock or hide this column so that the people who work with these tasks, they don't need to see whether it's invoiced or not. Only the automation. So maybe this should be actually hidden for everyone, but the board owners, of course, who can see anything on the board. And the result of all that information and a bit of ChatGPT magic, you could say, because you basically just take this text and say, this is the context for it, write more of a description. And then it just writes a very nice description that took, seconds and was created with the invoice row. And is also, with minimal review, could just be sent over to the economic system. That's the gist of it, okay? So you will avoid writer's block, as I said before. You will also feel that invoicing gets even more fun. It's, of course, already fun to actually feel a satisfaction to ask for payment for something that you're proud of. But it also gets much more easier. Nobody has to enter data twice. You only need to review a bit of data, which takes much less headspace and much less kind of mental capacity than just than sitting with 2 tabs as I did in the beginning of this webinar. You still get the chance to manually review, because it's quite important that you don't over-automate your workflows, because you don't want to send a invoice to client where the item description is far off and saying there's a public square when it was sidewalks that you were that you were supposed to do some renovation on, right? So that is very important to not over-automate so that you lose control, but you should still have the correct and relevant checkpoints in all your workflows. And then with one click, you will just have this as a real invoice being sent to the customer. One click, you just click send here. That's all you do, because you already have whatever is your favorite invoicing app. I'm not gonna endorse any of them. But yeah, okay, I installed that one. You have already connected to your invoice software, either through an application or via Make. And with Make, of course, you can also do the even custom calls to a invoice system that you basically build yourself. Like the possibilities are endless to just have a one-click draft sent, one-click invoice sent to the invoice system, and either then it could be reviewed again by the economy department, or it could be directly sent to the client if you know what you're doing. Like if you're the CEO of the company and you have built it yourself, then probably you want it to be sent directly to the customer because you don't want to review it twice unnecessarily, right? Okay, and I think that was it. Something that I do recommend as a homework, except for getting inspiration from this webinar, is that you actually have a look at all the temperature and so on. So for example, here default to 1, which made ChatGPT make up that there was a part of the public square that needed repairing and not just the sidewalk. So this should be set ideally to maybe 0.2 as well. You should also try experimenting a bit with the top P and N. And if you're a very hands-on kind of person, that's all you need to do. You only need to experiment and then get a feel for it, right? Other people, they are more academically inclined and want to find out exactly what each of these mean. And then I recommend that you check with OpenAI who actually created this and do it that way. It's not the most fun read, but it could be enlightening and actually lead to some new ideas if you are quite interested in machine learning, AI, and all that kind of stuff. That's what I recommend, definitely. I also recommend you to, before you do any kind of integration like this, to map out properly what's your Monday setup. Where can I find the information for the item description? Where can I find the information for the free text? Where can I find the information for each line? Maybe you don't want each invoice line to be one task or one part of the project as it is now. It's basically milestone or whatever you would call this for a construction company, high level gate or milestone. But rather maybe you wanted to say, okay, we worked 30 hours with monday.com for this price and 5 hours with make.com for that price, and that's it. So maybe you want to actually aggregate the data. Remember that we have quite nice aggregators, not only text aggregators, we also have, at any point that we want, we can put a numeric aggregator that could be set up like, okay, I'm just gonna the sum of each could be any variable here. It could be each. I was thinking of picking project, but okay, so you can get basically the whole project value for each row instead. So maybe you don't want it as low level as this one. Instead, you want it to be more high level. So one line is one project. Project Alpha, Project Papa, and then price and quantity. So that could be an idea too. So don't feel afraid to come up with an additional idea. Most of it can be solved like that. But what is important is that you do it in a structured manner. By first looking at what information do I want on invoice, where should I fetch it from? Do I also want to connect, for example, the client registry between Monday and my invoicing system? That is actually what most people do, I would say. Some even connect another entity, for example, a project or a some other accounting entity to have automatic accounting on a whole other level, and reporting, financial reporting as well. So many things can be quite automated that way. Okay, I think that actually I have said everything that I wanted to say today. I'm gonna fix my OpenAI connection that is broken for some reason, so that next time I have an AI webinar, I will use the ChatGPT 4, I think it's called, isn't it? Yeah, I think so, and not the old Da Vinci stuff. And that will, I think, also give a bit more context. But for people who like Make and Monday, then I think that you can figure it out what would have happened anyway. Okay. So thank you very much for today. And I see you next time in, I think, March in an unannounced webinar. I haven't even decided the topic yet, so we will see. All right. Okay. Bye-bye.